Друзья, всем привет! Сегодня мы начинаем прохождение Hellblade Senua Sacrifice. Всем приятного просмотра. Это дополнительный материал.
Stormy seas and lost souls.
Who is it?
She's dreamt of this before.
It's coming. Is it?
They say dreams are visions of our memories, thoughts and fears, as seen by our inner eye. But what if each one of us is always dreaming, even when awake? And we only see what our inner eye creates for us. Is this what hell is? A world shaped by Senua's nightmares. Maybe that's why people fear seeing the world through her eyes.
Yes, she's scared.
Because if you believe that Senua's reality is twisted, you must accept that yours might be too.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a video game about Senua, a Celtic warrior on a vision quest into Viking territory. But what sets our hero Senua apart is that she suffers from severe psychotic mental illness.
He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer. They're watching.
The original idea for Hellblade was to create a classic hero's journey, a journey of suffering, but one where the fantasy world is not another planet or alternate universe, but a world that is constructed in Senua's mind. But to do so would mean putting psychotic mental illness at the center of the experience, a subject that is still considered taboo, and a challenge that was both terrifying and exciting in equal measure. In Hellblade, the starting point was a newly discovered Celtic goddess called Senua in Ashwell, Hertfordshire. When first discovered, her name was thought to be Senua, a name which I liked and kept. I wondered if Senua might have been a Celtic warrior like Boudica who stood up to the Romans. While the Romans had conquered all of Europe, there was a group of Celts up in the furthest reaches of the Roman Empire that could not be conquered, the Picts. And so the Romans built a wall, called Hadrian's Wall, that spans across Britain from sea to sea to keep the Pictish barbarians at bay. The Picts were known for their war paint, painted on with woad, and their matted hair clumped with lime. And so Senua would be a barbarian Pict in this image.
What's your name?
Senua.
I haven't seen you before.
I don't live home much.
Oh, Zeno's daughter.
I have to go.
Wait.
Orkney is off the coast of Scotland and was inhabited by the Picts, steeped in history and mystery, and so I made Orkney Senua's home and set the stage for a crisis. In the late 8th century, the first Vikings landed on the Orkney Islands. The population of the Picts crashed thereafter, replaced by the Norsemen of the 9th century. Were they wiped out? We don't know for sure, but it would seem likely given the reputation of the Vikings. The Northmen's brutality is legendary. High-ranking leaders and chieftains of the tribes they conquered were often offered as sacrifice to their gods. The most brutal of these sacrifices was known as the Blood Eagle. I imagine Senua as a young female warrior who returns home from exile to find her partner, Dillion, brutally sacrificed to a Norse god by these hellish warriors from a faraway land. I imagine the horror of this moment and how it would have dragged her deep into mental torment. came to learn that the Celts had a sophisticated and nuanced perspective on the nature of mental disorder. One term they used was Gelt. A Gelt is a man or woman who has been driven mad by a curse, battle trauma, or grief. The Gelt would take to a life in the woods in search of penance, punishment, and purgation. And so Senua became a Gelt, cursed by darkness, looking for redemption in the wilds. Another word the Celts used in reference to mental disorders was druth, meaning fool, or liar, one who utters the words of God. They tell of the mad sinner who flees battle into exile and takes on a beastly nature, growing feathers on his body. The character called Druth in Hellblade is based on a little-known person called Findan, an 8th century Irish Celt who was captured and enslaved by the Vikings, but eventually escaped to Orkney where he became a monk.
I will tell you my stories of hell, if I may walk with you.
Upon meeting Senua, it would be his stories that fuel her quest deep into their world of gods.
The Northmen say the world will come to an end. The sun will grow black, the earth will sink into the sea, the stars will disappear, fire and water will meet, flames will play against the sky, the heavens and earth and all the world will be burned, all the gods will be dead, and the warriors of Valhalla and people everywhere. Senua, prepare yourself for Ragnarok, for it is nigh.
So the stage was set for a new adventure, a journey into the Norse underworld called Hell, a vision quest fueled by madness and myth, a fantasy that was created by Senua's own mind, and one that we would experience through her eyes.
This is your mission. This is your quest. There is nothing else left.
To make a game about a warrior with psychotic mental illness as its central theme was fraught with danger. Mental illness, such as psychosis, is still taboo and rarely acknowledged in a century of cinema, never mind the new medium of games. Where it does feature, it often conflates psychosis and psychopathy associated with a lack of empathy. It is unfortunate that these two words sound so similar that they are used interchangeably in media. I must admit that I didn't have to look very far to discover my own ignorance of the subject. So we reached out to Paul Fletcher, psychiatrist and professor of health neuroscience at University of Cambridge.
Psychosis is a descriptive term, and it refers to having a loss of contact with objective reality. So it's characterized by two main sets of symptoms. One of them is hallucinations, where somebody experiences perceptions when there is no actual objective thing out there to perceive.
You're already dead. Who are you?
And the other is delusions, where somebody comes to very often bizarre, unpleasant, frightening beliefs when there's no good evidence in favour of them.
There's no doubt about it. The source of the darkness is in Helheim. And the goddess Hela holds his soul there.
We reached out to Welcome, a biomedical research charity that spends billions on research and awareness programs aimed at improving health.
Mental health hasn't always been presented in the media in a way that is particularly helpful. It can be challenging to engage people with the subject matter, and there are a lot of preconceived ideas about mental health, and particularly schizophrenia and psychosis. So we hope our support allows the team to continue to collaborate with Paul Fletcher and with those who have experience of psychosis to create a game that provides a fresh perspective on the condition and allows audiences to engage with it in a way that just wouldn't be possible in any other medium.
What started out as a brief consultation convinced me that we were only scratching the surface of an immensely deep and interesting subject that could enrich and change the very nature of the game.
That's cool. Thanks so much for coming in. Pleasure. Thanks. It was really interesting for me, and I'd love to be involved. I think it's fascinating. Absolutely.
Our understanding of psychosis is still very much a mystery, and ways of treating it are still primitive compared to physical illness. After all, it is easy to see the pain and suffering caused by physical diseases or physical trauma. It is not so easy to see the mental suffering and trauma of severe mental illness. But what if we could find a way to see it? Games are capable of drawing you in for hours on end, playing the role of a character who is different from you, experiencing their perspective, and actively involving you in a world that functions with a different set of rules. If we were to represent Senua's psychosis, we would have to simulate voice hearing, a common attribute. But how can we simulate something we have no first-hand experience of? Professor Charles Fernyhough, a leading expert in voice hearing from Durham University, offered his help.
Hearing voices is an experience that is usually associated with severe mental illness, and crucially we know that hearing voices is a part of ordinary life for many people who don't meet the criteria for mental illness.
Yeah. Oh, that's not him in real life.
We know voices vary according to where they appear in space. Voices can appear far away in the distance, they can appear right there in your ear, they can seem to be coming from inside your head.
Based on the information Professor Fernyhough provided, I put together a sound brief and invited some actors to the studio. We recorded the actors using a binaural microphone, which records the 3D spatial position of sound, replicating the way sound is heard by human ears. It gives you an incredible sense that the person you are listening to is right there beside you. Rachel Waddingham from the Voice Collective came to our studio with 2 young voice hearers to speak to our team. We talked at length about their experiences and they listened to our tests, giving us feedback on how we could improve on it.
Everyone hates her. She's cursed.
It's very hard to represent what this experience is like, partly because it's such a personal, intense, emotional experience. It's testament to how Ninja Theory have been listening to what the researchers are saying, but also, crucially, listening to the experts by experience. What they've come up with is so compelling. It's by far the best representation I've heard of what these experiences are like.
Other common attributes of psychosis are visions and flashbacks. We met with Recovery College East, who work with and care for people recovering from severe mental disorders. A group of service users gave us their first-hand account of what they experience.
Sometimes when the visions or what we're seeing is too much, it becomes more difficult until eventually we perhaps don't see anything.
The people we spoke to, the stories they told, were fascinating, harrowing and mind-boggling. The reality of what people experienced was vivid, far exceeding what I could possibly have imagined. We went away itching to represent some of these visions and flashbacks in the game.
As we all know, my heart is so, love is so far away. Don't you know how I wanna feel deeper? I could never know how you grow, all these days are killing me. Now I see deep in me insanity does unfold. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper. As we all know, my heart is so, love is so far away. Don't you know how I wanna feel deeper? I could never know how you grow, all these days are killing me. Feel like this, read like this, I just wanna live that song. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper. I just wanna feel deeper, deeper.
To refine our work, we continue to hold meetings with Recovery College East over the course of a year and a half, showing them what we had achieved so far and refining the in-game representations based on their feedback. With their help, flashbacks, visions and changes in perception were woven into the story and gameplay of Senua.
The students that are involved in this project are incredibly excited about being involved. They have described the experience as being important because it values their lived experience and shows that despite what we have been through, all of that experience becomes valid, that actually it's something that we should all be talking about.
The experiences described range from beautiful to frightening beyond comprehension. I heard of a girl who has to live with an angry voice screaming at her, slamming on her doors and walls 24 hours a day. I met someone who would often see hanging corpses in a room, so real that she would sometimes try to rescue them. The panic and fear that comes with such visions is entirely understandable, and it can be a living horror for some.
Worthless, weak, pathetic. Go on, feel sorry for yourself, because there's no one left to do that for you.
I was urged by one fellow that we should not shy away from showing this horror, and so I was perpetually torn in making Hellblade. Had we gone too far with our representations, or not far enough?
Broken and lost. Just like your soul.
Come on.
In some ways, voice hearing and visions were the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. There's another aspect of psychosis that is much harder to explain, but one that I think video games are uniquely able to represent, which are often called delusions.
People begin to see patterns in the world. They begin to link things that most people wouldn't link. Most of the things that we might think would be coincidence or, not worth commenting on. Nevertheless, that might have a particular salience or importance for them.
One individual described how everyday words, sounds, colours and objects were steeped in meaning to him, forming a strange and sinister puzzle that he was determined to solve but could not quite get to the bottom of.
It's not just brain dysfunction. It's not like the system shut down. It's actually an incredibly creative process. The person creates a world populated with voices and phantasms and terrors, and they're completely immersed in it. They believe in it.
We often invite people into the studio to play the game. In one of our playtests, they played through much of the game, making associations between runes, secret messages, and the threat of darkness that stalked them. There are many things that happen in the world of Hellblade that make perfect sense within the context of Senua's mind. The dark rot that's killing her slowly from within, the secret runes of the gods that block her path to Helheim, and strange associations that exist in the game to confuse you. To complete Senua's quest, you have to internalize and accept the logic and meaning behind these things to progress. Afterwards they said that they didn't see much evidence of mental illness in the game. People with delusions of all sorts would argue the same thing, that they are not aware of their experience being abnormal in any way.
I need this sword. It's important.
Representing perception changes and thinking patterns within Hellblade gives us a set of symptoms common in psychosis. But people with lived experience were keen to emphasize another point, that it is wrong to define a person by their symptoms. Quite often, the illness comes not from the symptoms, but from the stigma, isolation and mistreatment that comes about from the rest of society.
They say that I'm cursed. What if they're right?
I needed someone to portray Senua, someone who could believably internalize her suffering. Melina Jurgens, our video editor, had been a stand-in for Senua over a few months while we perfected our motion capture techniques. Without realizing it, she had already auditioned for the role, and I knew her well enough to know that I didn't have to teach her to act, but to relive her own internal pain. As often is the case, those who have suffered mental anguish are never far from us. My hope is that by creating a compelling and
Так, больно долго это длился, еще, нас спойлерились. Уже перейдем к игре. Что выключил? Автовод. Так, вперед.
Hello. Who are you? Doesn't matter. Welcome. You're safe with me. I'll be right here, nice and close so I can speak without alerting the others. Let me tell you about Senua. Her story has already come to an end, but now it begins anew.
What's happening? It's breathing. Dead. It's breathing. It's breathing. He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer. They're watching. They're watching. They're watching.
This is a journey deep into darkness. There will be no more stories after this one.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this? They're watching. Why doesn't she feel her coming? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead. I can feel you coming. Quiet.
Oh, how rude of me. I never told you of the others. You hear them too, right? They've been around ever since the tragedy. Well, that's not quite true. Some are old, some are new, but they've changed. I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Can you see them? Over there. Why isn't she looking? Why aren't you looking? He's in hell high.
Look, up ahead. You see it too?
You promised you can.
Yes. It is real after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog. The place the Northmen call hell.
Turn back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe.
It's there. They're here.
You see that?
Look around and you'll see them. The drowned, the sick, the slain. Here they lie, rotting in the fields and rivers of hell. But the dead don't always lie still here. This is not a place of rest.
You can't do this. Go back. Go back. They're going to do that to you. Can you see them? Can you see them? They're going to do that to you. They're watching. Stop. Can you feel them watching? They're watching her. They're watching her. You're so close to the darkness. Go back. Can you feel it?
What is she thinking? I can tell you. She's afraid. Wouldn't you be? You'd think she would get used to it by now after so many years. But the darkness, it just builds onto itself, growing stronger, towering over her. You might try and ignore it, turn away. But it's always there, just out of sight, where you're most vulnerable. It's like it knows that just enough light is all you need to see its suffocating power.
They can feel you.
You might think she's brave to go on this journey on her own, but it isn't bravery that drives her. bravery only means something to those afraid of death. Senua's fear runs far, far deeper.
Что ж, мы почти приплыли уже.
What is she looking at? What is she leaving behind? I know what she's thinking. I hear her thoughts. It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us. There's no going back.
You can't do it.
Senua pushes away a world that conspired to cause so much suffering. There's nothing to go back to, and worse to look forward to. Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.
Все, нам дают управление за главной героиней. Больше ничего взаимодействовать нельзя, что-то.
Focus. Look closer. Look. Use your eyes. Why isn't she looking closer?
Do not forget my stories, Senua. Because your darkness comes from hell and your fate lies there. They say the burning of a corpse will take you straight to Hela's gate. But gods and do not forget my stories, Senua. Because your darkness comes from hell and your fate lies there. They say the burning of a corpse will take you straight to Hela's gate. But gods and the living will follow this path. You must leave the Isles of Orkney across the eastern sea and find a road that leads north and down through deep, dark valleys. After 9 nights of riding, you will follow a great river and will find a bridge covered in gold. The path to Helheim goes from there, across the river of knives that flows from the dark world of Niflheim.
Yearns for life, hungers for it, like a pack of wolves on a hunt. But she's not stopping. was right. What was it he said? The river of knives across which lies the halls of hell. The place they call Helheim.
He's lost. He's lost.
Where are you? I hear you. He's there, you know it. There's no doubt about it. The source of the darkness is in Helheim. And the goddess Hela holds his soul there. Her dear beloved, Dillian.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this? Why doesn't she turn back? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already dead. His soul still lives. She needs to save his soul. She wants his soul to be at peace. She needs to lay him to rest. He's already dead. She can save him. There's nothing she can do. She thinks she's going to save him. She's not going to save him.
She'll never make it to Helheim.
She can't let him rot here. She needs to try. Do you know where you are? Where are we?
The bridge to Helheim. I forget its name. She forgets too. But she does remember that only the dead may cross it. That part wasn't so easy to forget. The old fool said there was a hidden path into it. Let's see, shall we?
Чё тут?
The Northmen speak of 9 worlds. The world of men they call Midgard. Sky gods dwell in Asgard. The gods of earth, harvest, wind, and sea dwell in Vanaheim. The good elves dwell in Alfheim. The evil ones dwell in Svartalfheim. The mountain giants dwell in Jotunheim. The fire giants dwell in Muspelheim. Niflheim is the world of ice and darkness. Only the dead dwell in Helheim. And that is where you must travel.
Понятно.
That's the way. Are you scared? You should be scared. You don't know where you're going. Do you know where you are? Where are we? Get down. What's she waiting for? So brave. Why did she do that? She shouldn't have done it. She can't go back now.
No, this is it. The hidden path.
На ворота.
He's going to hurt you. It's dangerous.
Don't kill me. I'm not one of them.
Don't listen.
I was just hiding. I find I live longer that way. Don't listen. Never let the bastards catch me again. Never! Wait. Who are you?
It's just a memory.
Druth? Is that you?
For my tales of the Northmen, they call me Druth. A liar.
He's lost.
An old fool. Druth is my truth.
It's good to see you again. You kept your vow.
Guide you in this life and the next. I will tell you my stories of hell, if I may walk with you.
Tell me your stories again, old friend. I'm listening.
The runes seal the gates to hell. Focus your inner eye, and you too will see what's hidden in plain sight.
Use your eyes. Use your eyes. She can't focus. Why can't she focus? Take a closer look, Senua.
I can see one.
Hold it in your mind's eye. Find one like it to open the gate.
Это я не понял.
He's not real.
Как, блять?
It's just like
Еще не сработало-то, блядь. Да чё за херня-то?
Give it.
towards the gate. And the gate will open.
Наконец-то.
The gate is open. Go through the gate.
Go through it.
It's dangerous.
Follow it.
What's behind the gate?
Where will it take you?
It's not safe.
It worked.
I spent 6 years enslaved in hell. But I watched the Northmen. Learnt their ways.
I know you did.
You listened, and everyone else laughed. My people pay a heavy price. Carry my stories with you, and together we will make the Northmen feel our fury.
Another voice joins us. Pretend they weren't real. But what good is that? When we are always here. The same with heights. You can stand on the edge, pretend it's going to be okay, but you know that death is near, waiting for you to make that little slip. You can't just wish things away.
You can't fall. If you fall, you will die.
The world of the dead is ruled by the giantess, Hela, daughter of Loki. The gods feared her bloodline, bad on her mother's side and yet much worse on her father's. So, as a child, the All-Father cast her down into Helheim and gave her power over those who die of sickness, age, hardship, and self-slaughter. In all of the 9 worlds, only Hela can resurrect the dead. To Hela, your Dillion was sacrificed, and with her you must bargain. The world of the dead is ruled by the giantess, Hela, daughter of Loki. The gods feared her bloodline, bad on her mother's side and yet much worse on her father's. So, as a child, the All-Father cast her down into Helheim and gave her power over those who die of sickness, age, hardship, and self-slaughter. In all of the 9 worlds, only Hela can resurrect the dead. To Hela, your Dillion was sacrificed, and with her you must bargain.
The gate to Helheim divides the living from the dead. Is that the face of Hela herself? The half-rotten goddess that rules over Helheim. Whatever horrors lie behind that door, she must find him. what you want. I won't resist anymore. Just give him back.
Опа. Вот. Тихо. Да, бляха. Посмотреть, как тут быстрый, тяжелый. Много ранен. Ща, блядь. Пестос. Так, это что, так и должно быть? Если такие сцены убийства, то там, блядь, охуенно.
A vision of what's to come. Poor Senua. The darkness does not bargain. It does not reason. It is rot. And now it has taken hold. It will spread towards her head, the seat of the soul, until there is nothing left of her.
Типа душу забрала.
All of her suffering will have been for nothing. It's just a matter of time.
What the fuck? И сигналь не берется, да? Да ладно.
The hardest battles are fought in the mind. That is what Dillian taught her. With every defeat, the dark rot will grow and soon it will take her soul. But for now, at least, she still has control of her mind. And she will fulfill her vow, whatever the cost.
goddess Hela lies behind the gate to Helheim. To open the gate, you must first face the gods that guard it. The god of fire, Zurt, and the god of illusion, Valravan. Spill their blood to open the gate to Helheim and enter the land of the dead.
Понятно, двух боссов вальнуть.
To Dillian, to his soul. It won't open. How will she get through? Why won't it open? Why can't she open it? She needs to challenge the gods. She has to fight two gods first. Two gods? Two gates. Who will she choose first? One of them will kill her, I know. She's going to die. Uh-oh. Which one will she challenge first?
The Northmen say that in the beginning there was nothing but darkness. Bitter cold to the north, fiery hot to the south. They say the cold formed ice, which melted from the sparks from the south. The power of the darkness gave life to the dripping ice, and the first giant was born, and was named Ymir. The ice continued to drip, and the power of the void gave life to it, and it became a cow, whose milk fed the giant. That's right, a cow. But you weren't expecting that.
Чё? Пойдем на этого огненного бога, блять. Сырон.
Valravan, ancestor of the seers and master of ravens. He hunts his prey with his powers of illusion and feasts on their remains.
Иллюзии, значит.
Follow the path to Valravan and defeat him in battle to earn his mark. The gate to Helheim cannot be opened without it.
Ладно, давай пойдем сюда тогда.
Ymir was a frost giant, a being of darkness, and all his sons and grandsons were dark after him. Of his daughters and granddaughters, some were monstrous, but others fair. But there was another who came from the ice, Buri. In shape, he was like a man, big and powerful. His son, Bor, took a fair giant to be his wife, and they had 3 sons. Odin was the eldest, and the Northmen hold him to be the foremost of the gods, the All-Father.
Вот как Один появился. Отец великан, блядь. Это чтоб туда попасть.
illusion hides the path to Valravn. Don't trust your eyes. Find another way to see the truth.
It's a door. No, it's not. Push it. Push it. What do you think will happen? Come on. Come on. Did it.
Это что за портал, блядь?
It's funny. We all want to see behind the veil, don't we? Once we do, we mostly just close our eyes again and pretend what we saw was never really there.
Ха. Вот открывает. Прикол. Что-то не смотрел. Ни хрена.
Senua never could close her eyes, however hard she tried, begged. This is the price she pays for seeing things differently. Because once you gaze into the relentless darkness, all that lurks within it can see you too.
Это пыри появились.
Часть.
Stop her. She will find what she's looking for.
Найс, найс. Плохая боевочка. Давай, открывай. Сейчас уже с ним батл будет 100 пудов. Поставить знак.
Valravan's power of illusion comes from ravens. Align the ravens to break his magic seal.
Show me what you have seen, Truth. Look how much it's changed. It's all different.
To break the seal, align the ravens with the mark of Valravan.
Типа забраться что-то надо еще. Еще, по идее, соберем. Бинго. Через эти врата. Нет. А, или сразу открыть.
Do you feel it too? It's like crossing into another world that looks the same but feels different. An imposter world where the forest itself is watching.
Еще одна такая предстоит.
Another gate. Another gate. You know what to do. Stay back. It's not safe. Don't listen to them. Listen.
Конечно же, знаю.
To break the seal, align the ravens with the mark of Valravan.
Where are they? What does it mean? Ravens. Where are they? Can't you see them? To find. Line up the ravens.
Разобраться.
I hear something.
If you hear the soul of Valravan, follow it, and it will lead you to him. But be aware of his illusions. You can't always trust your eyes.
Дальше. Привет. Да, поздравляю. Всего тебе наилучшего.
Silence me.
А, молодец. Куда собака делась? Чуть-чуть. Это да. С нами играли, ладно. Не помню. Вроде бы все там находил. Вот зараза.
Some, like Truth, become gout in search of penance. Others, like Senua, purge a curse. Those who make it back are forever changed.
Блин, я что-то нигде не нашел. Я в интернете просто читал инфу, что да, там они собираются выпустить там 20 мая, по-моему, даже. Апрель или май, да. В общем, скоро. Там пока не так много информации. Ну давай скинь тогда, я посмотрю. Хрена туда. Я понял, ты что, не хочешь собираться? Опять он смылся. Не нравится с нами.
Raven, tricking her. Raven. How can she get up? Bait. It's him. Dark magic draws her closer. It's not. He's helping her. It's not him. It's a trick. She's doing it on her own. He's not tricking her. It's magic. It's an illusion.
Чертов Валран. Какой смысл сюда забраться-то? Вообще не понимаю. Что тут открыли? Надо туда как-то попасть. Окей, я посмотрю, спасибо. Блин, да. Да, я уж понял, что не может быть как в Unity. Слишком жирно. А что вышел этот? Погоди-ка. Да у них графон там один и тот же, чё. Механика одна и та же, считай. Что у Роуд, что у Блэкфлага. Чё там улучшать еще? Господи. Немножко, может, они подтянули. Сколько там можно еще доулучшивать? Она и так там вполне нормальная. Даже для сегодняшнего времени. Блять, тренировки, что ли, как-то? Да ни хрена. Блин, я уже забыл. Первая Роудж выходила разве? Потом что ли Black Flag? Я запутался уже. Помню. Блять, уж вообще в другую сторону. Хер пойми, блин. Бать ниндзя теория намутили тут. Ну да, она же выходила, блядь, как как после этого, после до Юнити. Пазген, блин. Не знаю, но она все равно, блин, смотрится на уровне, как и четвертый Black Flag. Может, она чуток похуже там. Блядь, я. Да чё за херня-то? Что за дичь? Ага, ты смотри, собака, блядь. Ебучие иллюзии и порталы, блин. Обосраться можно. Да, блин, я не знаю, о чем они думают, блин. Они вообще не думают. Они думают лишь, блин, бабок срубить. Все, наконец-то разгадали эту хренову. Я так не пройду. Так, ну давай, там походу босс должен быть. Уже скоро.
We picture fear, and we think of a shadow in the woods, creature in the night. If only it were that simple. The worst kind comes without warning. Deep and primal signal from within. A reminder that just because you cannot see the threat, it doesn't mean that it's not already here.
Так, ну все, походу, вальран должен быть.
She can't get in. She can't go in there. Barra, he's there.
Ладно.
Find another route. Truth says there's always
Здравый путь, здравый путь.
go round. Find your own path. It's a different way.
И... Так, пошло, поехали.
Finish this. Finish him. Don't give up. Don't give up. Too many of them.
Собаки такие.
He's gone.
Да вы издеваетесь.
It's nearly over.
Наконец-то. Хуе. На грани просто. Сразу темнота пропала. Правильно, врагов кидать побольше.
The Northmen say that Odin and his brothers killed Ymir, and that the world of men was formed from his corpse. They made his bones into stone, and his flesh into earth, and his blood into the salt sea. They set his skull to be the bowl of the sky, with his brains for clouds. Odin and his brothers caught the sparks flying from Muspel and made them into stars. And to protect the new world from the giants, they used Ymir's great curving eyebrows as walls.
А где же этот Валоран прячется? Ублюдок такой.
Do you know what it's like to leave everything behind? Your home, loved ones, to head deep into the wilds, perhaps never to return. Senua does. Because when darkness speaks, it changes everything, turning home into a foreign land and loved ones into strangers. Exile makes sense when you realize that you were never really home in the first place.
Говно там получилось в день релиза. Все это знают, что с Unity было. Не знаю, я в день релиза, она бы меня бы все равно бы не потянула. Поэтому я в Unity не играл. Только потом. Сам видел уже на консоли, проходил. И то спустя уже сколько времени. А в нее на то время вообще играть нигде не могли. И на ПК, и на консоли, на ПК. На ПК там вообще катастрофа полная была. Мать, опять эти штуки. Сколько еще этих ворот открывать, блин. Охренеть, сколько их тут. Ну, да, он неплох. Хоть многим не нравится тема с кораблями, что они намутили, но, блин, все же она неплохо смотрится. Охренеть, и там побывать, и там побывать. Сколько же тут всего, блин. И опять будем за этой собакой бегать. Там спустить. Жопа. Но это, кажется, уже точно последнее гнило. Ну, блин. Вот так вот. Xbox обошли с ними саму курс. Опа. Обосраться.
It's over here. Is that? It's over there. No, it's here. There's two.
Не знаю, мне понравилось. Я первый раз играл, когда Black Flag еще проходил. Я в него на ПК еще успел порубиться до того.
She wanted to fight her own darkness. She thought she could beat her own darkness.
Did she beat her darkness?
No. It nearly killed her, but she tried.
Это ж, блядь, чего?
Druth helped her. If it wasn't for Druth, she'd be dead.
She can't beat her own darkness. She wanted to marry Dillian. She came to beat her own darkness.
She thought her curse would affect him.
She thought her curse would spread to him. She thought she'd bring the darkness to him too. She nearly died.
She thought the curse made her tainted.
Он весел. 40 гигов, блин. Просто. Красавелла, блядь. 40 гигов, блин. Это считай, блин, игра. Блин. Современная, блин. С неплохой графикой, блядь. Они, сука, выпускают патч на 40 гигов. Пиздец, там у них горело. Вот эта игра, сука, 22 гига весит. И не с плохой графикой. Не такой уж и плохой графикой. Вполне даже нормальный. А они, сука, выпускают патч. Да, не орать, блин. Блять, истоки сколько весят? Сейчас я тебе точно скажу. Ну, 50 она весит. Сейчас, не знаю, они сейчас же тоже всякие обновления клямпают, чпанкают для него. Ну, а когда она, блин, пускал, блядь, она, наверное, не столько не весила. Короче, считай, как юнить. Не знаю, с патчами. Так, и... Сюда. Забомбила аж, да?
The ravens. They've gone. No. Half of them have gone. They've gone. Some still have. But where? Some still have. No, Raven's helping. He's not helping. It's a trick. Quiet. I can't think.
Out in the wilds. In the cold winter woods.
Where have they gone?
She no longer felt fit for this world.
А ты зараза.
She almost gave in to the darkness. She remembered Dillian's words. She remembered her promise. She resolved to fight on and kill that which had become a part of her.
Так. Да, 100 пудов. И жопы погорели там добавок. Да. И Xbox, и жопы их владельцев. Да, 40 гигов, блядь. Я не знаю. После того момента там, наверное, уже много людей выкинули свои Xbox'ы. Не то, что они успели сгореть, а просто они полетели, блин. Мусорные ящики. Потому что он и сейчас, блин, бесполезен. Бесполезный кусок. Так, что, мы это сделали? Еще мост спустил. Опять этот песни поет. Как-то его ловить, блядь. Чего? Что-то тут ни хрена ничего не меняется. Такого моста не было, да? Гребаный иллюзионист. Тоже закрыто. Куда пройти? Синдикат выбросить, Unity выбросить. Да. Ничего не поменяется. Тупо комикс для задротов фанатов, которые, блин, прям вообще... Не знаю, чем они думали вообще. Что они так обосрались с Unity. Вообще им просто похуй. Так, туда можно пройти. Тут посмотрим, что. Да ё-моё, лезь-то. Что? Рофл. Похуй нападение. А тут, в принципе, невысоко было. Смысл, что наверх. Ладно, что тут у нас?
The Northmen say you must sacrifice in order to receive. They tell how the runes were revealed to Odin only in sacrifice. He hung himself from the world tree, and he stabbed himself with a spear, and he dedicated the sacrifice to himself. For 9 nights he hung on the tree without food or drink, and at last he saw the runes below him. He gave a cry, and gathered them in his mind and learnt them. Then he fell from the tree.
Он рассказан больше ничего. Так, блять. Как туда попасть? Ничего не пойму. Ага. Только они такого не сделают уже. Сколько времени прошло, блин. Будут они такой фигней маются. Она только когда-нибудь выйдет, блин, может. Ремастер Unity, блядь. Да чё ее там рематчить-то, блядь? Ее там исправлять, блин, а не рематчить. Не знаю. Они уже на нее болт положили. Будут они еще маяться чем-то. Блять, что ж такое? непонятно. Я что-то непонятно. Да, они не связаны. Я и без этого помню, понимаю. Никак они, блядь, там не связаны. Просто считай, как можно было даже не ассасином кличить, ничего. И это просто будет отдельная игра. С очень даже, блин, бешеной графикой. Которая она и усралась, блин. Из-за их корявых рук. Да хуйня вообще, синдикат, блин. Позорище, блядь. Что еще? Не знаю, даже Unity будет лучше. Учитывая того, что она была, блядь, забаганной за неоптимизированным говном. Но она, блин, гораздо лучше, блядь, чем синдикат, блядь. Который, блядь, вышел. Калик, блядь. Полнейший калик. Охренеть, это я, блин. Кругом, что ли, мотал? Что за хрень? Давай, давай. Ни хрена не пойму, блядь. Пойти соединить надо. Опа, ладно. Да, неужели? Опа, на запал.
Only when she is at her weakest will it strike to kill. Will she find Dillian before her time comes?
Ну что ж, погнали. Сейчас, походу, босс. Рано этот хрен. У нас сейчас будет. О, зараза, выходи. Серьезно, еще одни ворота. Насколько можно? Задрал уже. Одни, сука, ворота.
Overcome Valravan's final illusion to face him in his keep. I know you can do it, Senua. You have the sight.
We both see the darkness. We can fight it together.
Последнюю, да неужели? Последняя мотива. И что? Это я не вижу, чтобы что-то менялось.
Speak to me, Drew. Tell me a story.
Senua, listen. I will tell you the tale of a man called Findan. The Northmen captured Findan's sister, and his father sent him to pay for her release. But they took his gold, put him in chains, and held him for a day and a night without food or water. Then they released him. I don't know why. Upon his return, his father's enemies in Erin set fire to his home. His father burnt to death, and his brother was killed. But he escaped with sorrow in his heart. His father's enemies offered redress for his loss and invited him to a feast. It was at a hall near the sea. But when he went there, they betrayed him to the Northmen, who enslaved him and took him to hell. 6 years later, his slave masters landed on the shores of Orkney, burning all before them. And into that fire, Findan made his escape. What was Findan burnt away that day. But from the flames, a new man stepped forward, and Druth was born. Druth, the man that I am now. And though Findan never set eyes on his dear sister again, I, Druth, have found you, Senua.
I wish you could have seen my home before these dark times.
Портал. Понято. Ну давай, блядь. Ну спрыгнуть. Ты снова вернулся. О, да. Hellblade. Потому что я псих. Вообще, игра огонь, блять. Так, и что я сделал? Зачем? Что ты видишь? Хуя ты ничего не видишь. Блять. Ну, нихуя. Вот оно что. Опасно, опасно. Тут главное равновесие, блять. Сейчас соберем. Сейчас будет, блять, босс. Мало рама тут. Фокус.
The gate is open. Open.
О, да.
It's coming back for me.
I'm still here. Are you too? Where are we?
Ага. Совсем другая тут фишка.
It didn't end well in the wilds. It never does. You think you can overcome the darkness?
Так, чё думаю, что сзади кто-то дерет там.
Relief settles in.
Почему такое? Блять.
Drowning your mind in fear. Deeper.
Кто-то, блядь, жрет.
Driving you down so far into the void that maybe this time.
Что происходит?
There is no coming back.
Я не вижу, что сзади там где. Чпокается.
In the darkness. Senua. And she remembered what he told her.
Hear me. Reach out to me. Senua.
Help me.
My iron mirror. Look into it.
Вставай,
It is a
тряпка.
window into the underworld. Within, you will see the face of the darkness that you fear. And if you focus,
Понимаете, блять,
like I have
уже
taught you to,
психоз
also
судорогу.
see that as much as the darkness has you trapped within its veil, it too is trapped within yours.
А ты хера, блядь.
Focus!
Фокус.
Focus!
Фокус. Фокус. Ах ты ж, блядина, вот. О, вот он, блядь. Ну чё, псина, потанцуем. Это, блядь.
Take him down. You won.
Just.
Ох ты ж. Стена такая. Да не-не-не, не гони. Это тварь. Ща. Ай, да серьезно. Адова. Да, что ты будешь делать? Ха-ха. Давай. Да что ж такое? Эдос. Хе-хе-хе. Не-не-не-не-не, вставай! Твою мать. Опять им. Ага. Да ты, блядь. Хм. Да. Одна тычка осталась, оказывается. Хорошенца. Собачина. Я не понял, тут есть какая-то способность еще? Как это я щаплю только? Ну да. Ой, ё-мать. Ага. Нормально. На раз.
Find a good position. Don't let them behind you.
They're winning.
He's gone. She knows what to do.
Серьезно. Уже два. Один. И 0. А, тварь. Не-не-не, не дохни, блядь.
Focus now.
Фокусироваться, блядь, на эту тварь. О, да.
Never beat you in the wilds, did I? It was an illusion. But not this time.
О, скотина. Сейчас будет красивое добивание. Хорош.
The mark of Valravan, one of the keys to the gate to Helheim. Hold it in your mind's eye.
With every battle, the darkness grows stronger. Every victory bringing her closer to defeat. Unfair, isn't it?
Жижа,
In
блядь.
those dark winter nights in the wilds, there were times when she considered letting go. If it weren't for truth, a chance encounter.
Да, на резик-то не попадал там.
Heard his stories of the Northmen. And she would not have this chance to find Dillion's soul.
I'm coming. I still hear you.
А, тьма пропала. Стало посветлей. Ну чё я, блядь, уже сейчас округляться буду. Блин, на следующей неделе, блядь, играть не смогу, битком работы будет, так что уже, блин, сразу на предследующую уже увидимся. Очень долго меня не будет. Очень спасибо, друзья, кто заходил. Что-то уже пока не скоро еще увидимся. Ха, да. Было там такое. Что, в общем, всем спасибо, кто заходил. До скорого. Всем пока, ребят.